Hey, what's up? It's your favorite ninja, Apex Sapien. I need you to like, subscribe, share, get the message out because this is the top three reasons why Logan Paul should be on his knees thanking Dylan Dallas. So let's get ready for some deep spam. So you know what? Hey, you need friends like Dylan Dallas. There's an old saying that enemies make the best of friends. And what a good rival does for you is it helps make the best version of yourself. So I'm gonna tell you the top three reasons why Logan Paul needs to get on his knees and start begging Dillion Danis and thank him for being such a good friend because he clearly has no good friends around him. So let's get ready to jump right into it. Top three reasons why Logan Paul should be thanking Dylan and why you need to be more like Dylan Danis in your friends' life. So like, look, there's an old saying like that the best enemies make the best you. And you need to get stronger enemies. You need better enemies. And what I've been really observing from watching this Dylan Danis and Logan Paul exchange is that Dylan Danis is actually making Logan Paul a way better man. And there's three reasons why Logan Paul really needs to be thanking Dylan Danis. Number one, Logan Paul is learning about his weaknesses. See, a great enemy will expose all your weaknesses because they got to study you. So whenever you have a rival or somebody you're competing against or somebody who's in your business or any type of affair that you're competing against regularly, they're going to expose your weaknesses because that's how they win. See, all fights and battles, you don't match strength for strength. That's stupid. That's just a futile battle which is going to cause the most damage to you. In fighting or in the war, in tactics and strategy, the goal is to exploit your enemy's weaknesses. Every person has a weakness. I have a weakness, you have weaknesses, we all got weaknesses. But rarely in life do we ever have our weaknesses exposed by other people. And this is why a good enemy, a good rival is so critical for any man. You need to have somebody who's pushing you, forcing you to look at your weaknesses and how to shore them up and how to make sure you counteract for those weaknesses. So you have counterattacks for people who are going to attack you that way. And what Logan has learned today is that his girl is his weakness. This girl is definitely a liability in this whole relationship. Because as you can see, Dylan's clearly using Nina as a tool to get to Logan. And it's getting to Logan. If you watch that press conferences, Logan was losing it. Logan is not saying a mind. And Logan doesn't really look like he wants to fight Dylan. He's trying to figure out a way to get out of the Dylan fight. But Dylan's very clever about that. He understood that's where he's weak at. He is scared of losing that girl. So the more I keep going at her, the more infuriated he gets, the more emotional he's gonna get. And now we're actually at a point where it's almost like a very brotherly type love where Dylan's like, hey, look, brother, fuck this fighting shit. As a man, call this marriage off, brother, because the information I got is gonna make you look too bad. And see, that's the benefit of having a good enemy. A good enemy will make you recognize your weaknesses and then figure out how to either shore them up and fix them, or at least have some countermeasurements so you can be able to deal with that in the future. Because you don't want to be walking around with weaknesses that you don't know about that get exposed in your most critical moments. Because I can almost assure you, if Logan had some good guys around to actually show him, like, hey, look, your girl is probably not wife material, he would probably not have done it. But nobody in Logan's circle is a real friend. They're all fake enemies and cowards that are just being enablers. Which comes to our second reason why a great enemy like Dylan Danis to Logan Paul is important. It's because it helps you motivate. It helps motivate you to get past your personal issues. See, every man has a dark demon side of him. His dark side, his shadow, his Machiavellian evil that are personal problems created from either childhood, conditions, environment, so many different things. And so many guys have so many personal things they're always dealing with. And when you have a great enemy or a great rival, somebody who's testing you, forcing you to become better than yourself because you have to over compensate, not compensate, but you have to get past those personal demons to be able to conquer that next goal. And so what happens is, say that you're like somebody who's overweight and you have self-eating problems and you don't know how to stop eating. Well, guess what? If you got somebody you have to fight, you have to make a certain weight, and there's money on the line, there's reputation, there's a bunch of things that are going to be very, very detrimental if you don't show up and do what you're supposed to do. Guess what? You're going to lose that weight. You're going to figure out how to stop eating. You're going to overcome whatever personal triggers in your mind that's making you be obese because you understand what's at stake. And this is why I say during times of war, you see the best of men because you have to overcome so many fears, self doubt, things that just hold you back. Because if you don't get past those limitations in your mind, there's no way you can get past those limitations in your mind against resistance. So the first step is conquering myself. Mike Tyson used to always talk about how his biggest fight wasn't in the ring with the guy, it was fighting himself, fighting his own mental battles, dealing with being him. Most people can't really comprehend that because most people never enter the arena. Most people live very mundane, boring lives where they don't get out and compete. But if you're out there competing, you're out there fighting, you're out there doing what needs to be done to be the best version of yourself, and you're competing against people and rivals, you'll be able to get over a lot of personal issues because you have to. You don't have a choice. Like, say, if you have social anxiety, you're scared to talk to people. Well, guess what? If you get into business and you got to start talking to people, and that's the only way for you to make money, well, guess what? You're going to learn how to talk very quickly. You're going to learn how to get rid of that stuttering problem. You're going to learn how to have some more self-confidence because if not, you're going to starve. So competition, enemies, rivals, allies that were former enemies, these people force you to get over certain things about yourself because if you don't, you're going to fail miserably. And then you're going to go hide and be known as a bitch for the rest of your life. You don't want to be that. And I think Logan Paul's starting to see that, hey, look, man, I got a lot of personal shit I need to start figuring out because I don't like how I'm feeling. I don't like that I'm getting bullied on the internet when I was the bully. And you can see, it's mentally, it's wearing on him. The guy's hiding on social media, pretend like none of this stuff didn't even happen. And the third reason why Logan Paul really needs to thank Dillion Danis and why you need an enemy just like Dillion Danis, enemies and rivals, they force you to make better choices. This is known as a strategy theory. So early in man's existence, early man's existence, they used to fight war. And war is very brutal and very just disgusting and simple and straightforward. They would match everybody up into all this fucking clash and then kill each other until the last man pretty much got done. And then somebody realized, hold up a second, if we just have a little bit of foresight, if we just think a little bit more ahead, we can actually win these battles without fighting and losing as many people. And that's when strategy was born. That's your history lesson. Most people don't utilize strategy in their life. Most people use tactics, but very few people actually strategically look at their life, plan things out, and then attack and execute upon those plans. And what having an enemy and a rival does, it forces you to think ahead. You can't think right now because you're going to lose. If you think within the moment every single time, or you think emotionally, if you're not thinking one day, a week, a year, or however long that you have to compete against this person or entity, you're going to lose every time. See, the richest people on the planet don't think in years. They think in decades. They think in millennia. The most wealthiest and most powerful people. Because the longer the time horizon, the better the odds of you actually completing what you want to do. And so by having an enemy, by having forces rival you and try to take resources from you, try to take things from you, try to beat you, it forces you to think ahead. You have to plot and think, okay, if I do this, he might do this. So in case he does this, I'm going to have this coming just in case this doesn't happen. So you begin to strategize. Like if anybody's ever had a fight camp or ever learned how to fight and had to take a fight, you typically find out that you have a fight maybe a month, 2 months in advance, or actually 3 months in advance. And then you go into what's called a training camp. And in that training camp, you have a set schedule for about 8 weeks, 8 to 6 weeks, depending on when the fight is taking place. And you and your coaches sit down, you look at your opponent, and you game plan. You say, okay, the opponent's very good at wrestling. I'm not very good at wrestling, so I'm not going to become a great wrestler. But what I can do is I can learn how to negate their wrestling ability by learning wrestling defense. And then when I learn wrestling defense, I will mix up my strength, which is boxing. And so I will be able to anti-wrestle and box this guy in my attempt to beat him because he's not a very good boxer. Very good grappler, not a good boxer. So you're forced to look at their strengths and weaknesses, and then you come up with a game plan according to your strengths and weaknesses in order to better your chances of succeeding in the future. And so most people don't actually apply that logic to anything in life. Most people are just living hour by the hour, day by the day, living for the weekend, as they would say. If you have a good enemy, a good rival, they will force you to start thinking long term, thinking ahead, because iron sharpens iron. So as strong as they are, is as strong as you need to be able to contest. And it's a constant battle where you guys are both building upon each other and you eventually rise to the best version of yourself. And that's why enemies and rivals are so good. And this is why Logan Paul really needs to thank Dillion, not just on the fight level, but on the man level. He's calling his man's point. He's calling his card. Look, he said, look, your girl is not the best girl. You should probably get married. You deserve better, brother. Don't do it. And so I'm going to ridicule you, make fun of you for the rest of this fucking time that we fight until you do something about it. And so far, Logan doesn't appear to be doing anything about it. He does appear to be rattled about it. It doesn't look like it's very annoying to him, and he's not appreciating it. But this is what reality is. This is what his kids are going to face and what his kids are going to face. It's like your mama was doing this out in the streets. So I appreciate you guys listening. Please like, subscribe, share. And I'm going to drop more Logan Paul's and Dillion Danis psychological content. Like the news is great, But the psychology behind what we're watching is amazing. We really need to appreciate this. This is a great manhood lesson for you young people. Enjoy the rest of your day. Look forward to speaking to you again.